Welcome to Shades of Healing, the Journey Within, where we gently explore the spaces between pain, pause, and inner peace. Today, we will explore something more deeper than medicine, the journey of pain management. Pain is not just a physical sensation, it carries emotions, memories, and unanswered questions. But within every experience of pain lies the possibility of healing. Pain is not just as something to endure, but a signal calling for care and understanding. Pain doesn't just live in the body, it echoes in the mind and heart. Healing begins when the pain is acknowledged, addressed, and guided with compassion. Today, we welcome a doctor who listens to those stories with compassion and science and helps to transform their suffering into relief and fear into faith. What if pain wasn't something to silence, but something to understand? Some doctors treat pain, some study pain, and some change the way the pain is felt. Joining us today is Dr. Amod Manocha, who is a UK certified and pain specialist and with nearly 25 years of clinical experience, who is passionate about solving pain puzzles and help patients discover strength, confidence, and relief. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us today.
First of all, congratulations on your new venture.
Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure to be here today with you.
Thank you so much. So let's start this journey of healing. So what do you think? Pain is just a symptom or a story? And what do you personally relate to more? That pain that patient comes up with, the story that he carries, or the symptoms that comes on the scans?
I believe that pain is always a story. And if you have the patience to listen to it, then you can solve it sooner than just looking at the scans. Scans are just a small part of the story, and the story comes first. The pain comes first. You see the patient, you try and decipher the pain, and the scans are just a small tool which can help you understand or solve the mystery better. But the primary thing is the story and the pain.
Wow, that's beautifully explained. Is there one word that patients generally use but doctors misunderstand and that leads to delay in their process of healing?
Okay, so whenever a patient comes to the pain clinic, the obvious thing you ask him is, tell me about your pain or tell me about your problem. And when they start explaining, one common line which is used by most people is, dard hai mujhko, bahut dard hai mujhko. Right. So, this small word dard can mean a lot of things. It can be just a simple discomfort, or it could be something which is holding their life to a ransom. When we ask the patient, tell me about it, what we really mean is, tell me how it, started, what do you feel, how it's impacting on your life. And the way they describe it, I was doing that exercise in the gym and then it started, makes me think of a certain different thing. Then the way they describe the character of the pain, it's burning, electric, makes me kind of understand where it might be originating from. So that's a very important point, which to me is very important because not only helps me understand the type of pain they may be experiencing or the impact it's happening on their life, but also because pain could mean different things for different people, and that small world can be so vast, and knowing it accurately just helps everyone. So it becomes very important. And that's one thing which I wish people explained better. I think in the Indian subcontinent, sometimes we struggle to verbalize it. Previously, I've worked in the UK for 15 years, and my God, the way they used to describe their pain, sometimes it was just like literally present in the room, like a separate thing which you could visualize. And I think that's really the power of communication. And I wish we would just not, it's not with everyone, but I just wish everyone could do that and communicate that well so that, we can decipher what's happening and understand it better.
So basically expressing it more helps to understand it, and then we can go on the right line of treatment.
Exactly.
Faster.
Not only understand, but also to treat it. That's
better.
Very important.
And helps in faster recovery also.
There can be the other side as well, where people get so much carried away by the impact of the pain that they actually don't describe of what kind it is. And that again can be detrimental. So there's a fine balance, which is very important.
Nice. So you spent years practicing in London and now you are practicing in Delhi. So this move has any purpose or something more deeper than this?
I always believe that life takes you wherever it does for a reason. And if you go with the flow, your journey becomes easier. So there are advantages and disadvantages. You can't be omnipresent. So you have to choose, you have to be at one place.
Yes.
And rather than thinking about what is better or worse, I say, this is my destiny. This is where I'm meant to be. And I am here for a purpose, and let me look for that purpose. So that's how I take it. Whether it has a deeper meaning or not, it's time will tell.
So it means more like you have to be in the moment, exactly, wherever you are, and exactly, then give your best there.
Exactly. I truly believe in that.
Thank you. So sometimes when the patient comes to you and says that I'm feeling pain, but scans are normal. So do you think the pain that appears on the scan is as real, and what can it mean more?
Okay. So in the pain clinic, a lot of people who come are the ones who've been disappointed or who still have pain despite treatment at different places. And sometimes because their scans are coming as normal, they are told to even go and see a psychiatrist, or told that, oh, it's all in their head. The problem with pain is that there's no test which will tell me whether it's real or not. The first thing when we are training as pain physicians, we are taught is pain is what the patient says it is. So if I can't disprove it or prove it, I always give benefit of doubt to my patients and say, what you're telling me is right, and that's where we start from. And some of them would just cry with this because nobody has validated their pain or heard their pain for so long, and or heard their problem for so long, and that itself is like kind of healing for them. The scans cannot pick up everything, and we have to always remember that. The problem with the nerves, I give this example to my patients very often. I say, there is this electric wire that's like your nerve, and if it's damaged from outside, I can see. But if it's damaged from inside, the scans might come back as normal.
Right.
And that is something which is the functional capacity of a nerve, which is testable for some nerves, but not for all of them. So we always start by believing what the patient says the pain is. We try and find a reasonable and logical explanation for his pain and a treatment pathway. And whether the scans say something or not, it's just an aid. It's not the full picture. So believe the patient first. Scans just there to assist you.
So patient's story or expression about pain is really a realistic thing.
Yeah, we come back to the same thing. What they tell us, you need to believe that.
Believe that, yes. What is the biggest lie people believe in chronic pain? Something that delays their healing rather than helping it.
Okay, so I think the question is very important over here. We're talking about chronic pain. Chronic pain is the pain which remains for a long time. The medical definition mostly uses the time frame of 3 months, but again, I'll not stick to 3 months. What I mean is long-standing pain. Okay, so the biggest problem which delays healing for people, or the biggest lie, is that people take it as acute pain. I've got an injury. The pain will go away when the healing occurs. In chronic pain, this may happen or may not happen. So the way we look at this pain is very important. We need to look at it like we look at diabetes and blood pressure and other things. Now, when I take medicines for diabetes, is it going away? We are managing it. But if my diabetes is well managed and well controlled, am I suffering? Does it become a problem in my life? Yes, I might not eat that many sweets. Yes, I might exercise every day to keep my sugar under control. Yes, if it's still not controlled, I might need medicines, daily basis in some cases. So that's what it is. It is manageable without any suffering or major problems, right? So similarly in chronic pain, sometimes it is down to management, although we do try and heal everyone and give them 100% relief if we can. But sometimes it's down to management. And some people, despite the problem, the magnitude of the problem, keep looking for cure. And that is something which delays their healing. Cure might happen on the way as well. Sometimes when the pain is suppressed for a long time, it just goes away.
Right.
And that's what you're aiming for. But just saying that I'm not going to have this because this is not a cure is something which I often find becomes detrimental in their progress. And when the pain remains for a long time, it has its own negative side as well. Like I see so many patients who develop high blood pressure because their body is always fired up by the pain, which we call as sympathetic stimulation.
Right.
So it has a downside as well. So managing it can lead to cure as well. And I think that's something which people need to understand.
So instead of just looking out for the right approach of curing, rather they should be focusing more on the managing part, because that itself is going to help them in their journey of cure.
I was saying that maybe the management will lead to cure as well over the long term, but dismissing every option by saying it's not a cure or it does not need to cure in 100% of the people is not the right way forward. Sometimes we perceive surgery as a cure.
Right.
And even with surgery, there could be problems later on as well, right? We fix a part of the spine thinking it's a cure, and 5 years or 4 years later, we get a problem below the level of fixation and above the level of fixation. Now, you can say it's a different problem, but that happened because we fixed this part, or that also contributed. So was that a cure? Depends upon how you look at it.
Yes. Nice. So people are often told to stay strong when they're in pain. So in your experience, staying strong is a sign of healing, or is it something, a way to hide it?
I think that depends upon what intention it was said with. Like sometimes I'll tell my patients, stay strong, which also means don't give up. You'll get through this. It's okay.
Yeah.
So don't give up could be one thing. The other interpretation could be stay strong and don't show it to anyone. Or hide it. Now that varies from person to person. Sometimes by not thinking about it too much, not showing it out too much, would not attract too much of sympathy, and that helps. So that could be one dimension. The other dimension could be you're just suppressing it and not acknowledging its presence till it goes to a certain level, and then everything crashes down. So you can clearly see the negative impact of everything coming crashing down and you trying to ignore it or magnifying the problem. Whereas you can see the positive side of it as well, like stay strong, this will pass. It depends upon what context it is said in and what context it is perceived in by the person involved, and that changes the meaning of this on the whole. But I totally think this is a very important kind of point, especially in our context, in the Asian context, because it makes me remember the Amitabh Bachchan ki movie where mard ko dard nahi hota. I mean, the man is meant to be the strong. Similarly, the elders in the house are always meant to, they're not meant to show their pain or cry, whereas that is a normal human emotion or response.
Right.
So looking at it from that prism can be detrimental, but yeah, it can have its positive impact as well.
That's so beautifully explained, that every emotion has its own way. So we should not hide it or try to escape from it. Rather, we should just express it.
Yeah, it's there to be expressed. It's there to be let out. Suppressing it or exaggerating it is both a problem.
Who do you think feels more pain? The patient who's living it every day, or the doctor who is trying to help and watch helplessly when the results are slowed down?
Okay, I hope that doesn't happen very often, because if you're watching helplessly from the side, that doctor, what is he doing, So yeah, but I'm happy that you've acknowledged that there is a pain on being on the other side as well, which, we want to help people and you want to really, make them better. But sometimes the condition is such that you can't do that. Having said that, nobody can fit into someone else's shoes. What you are going through, only you know.
Right.
I can only try and imagine which is the next best possible, but that may not be good enough. And you are the one who's still going through it. So the pain of the patient is different. But at the same time, there's another pain on the other side as well, when you can't help people or when they don't get better, which is not something which is often well perceived. Which one is bigger depends upon which side of the fence you're sitting on and what you are experiencing. But I think both of them is a problem, both of them are a problem.
pain is not just physical. So what do you think is the most underrated emotion that people rarely talk about?
So what I see in the clinic, I would say not one, but two of them. One is fear and the other is guilt. Guilt of having picked up something heavy, having done something which wasn't them, trying to show off and lift a very heavy weight off the ground, and you get a disc bulge, and then you blame yourself because your life changed at that point.
Right.
Similar kind of guilt people hold. Sometimes they are, just precipitating events rather than the actual cause. But people related to that precipitating event. That was the day it started. No, it might have been happening from before. It was just the one where it surfaced to an extent, the problem surfaced to an extent where it couldn't be suppressed anymore. So that's one thing which I see is very related to pain and detrimental as well. Sometimes it's someone else who's done something to you, like a husband feeling guilty of having done something, or a wife feeling guilty of having something which wasn't intentional, so those kind of guilts. But more than that, the fear, and this to me is a sign of that you've gone through a severe problem which has impacted your life so much that you're afraid of it. Fear of just bending down, fear of lifting your little one, that it might just cause increased pain in the back, fear of walking beyond a certain distance.
Yeah.
That fear is something which is a really big problem and feeds into the pain circle and makes things worse as time goes by. I know of people who've not bent for years and years and years, despite them having no problem with their back, because just someone told them that, okay, you shouldn't be bending. And that's stuck in their head. That fear of precipitating the problem is something which is a real big problem.
So it's not about just the pain is not the only symptom, but you're always carrying that anxiety and fear with you and the guilts with you. So that is...
And often certain diseases like cancer, my pain's increased, has it come back? It's understandable, it's human, it's the fear. That fear just stops everything in their life, and that's very important to be addressed.
So I think we should overcome with all those, inner fears and come out more stronger, and we should work on the inner strength as well.
Yeah, that's a part of the treatment.
Yeah.
So addressing those fears. So we call this in medical language catastrophization, which means there's something really bad going to happen, and it's going to happen to me, and this has happened, so this is obviously going to go into this bad sphere. So that kind of negative thoughts are addressed in the medical. So those kind of negative thoughts are important to be addressed because they feed into the fear cycle. You start avoiding things which then precipitates the pain or makes your body even further unfit, which is not something which is good for your overall health.
Thank you so much for sharing this. As a pain specialist, what do you personally trust more? The procedures that give instant results or the medical treatments that are gradual in the process of healing?
I think both are very important components of the treatment we give to our patient. When a person comes to you in severe pain, the immediate healing on the humane aspect is very important to relieve him of that suffering. But then if you don't give him a long-lasting solution, the cycle is going to repeat itself again and again and again. So hence we supplement it with other things which could include addressing the underlying cause, which could include strengthening various body parts or systems to prevent that from reoccurring, which could also include things like lifestyle modification. So I think they go hand in hand. You address the immediate problem and you try and make sure that the problem doesn't happen again. But this is where the things fall apart. When you do the immediate removal of the pain, somebody comes with a severe back pain, you relieve his pain and you tell him you've got to do core strengthening, you've got to do physiotherapy regularly so that the muscles become stronger and the chance of this happening is less. But then once they're better, they forget about it till it reoccurs, and then they come back in 3 months or 6 months time saying that, it's happened again, the treatment's failed. No, the treatment's not failed. You've not complied with the full treatment.
Exactly.
You only did the part which was absolutely necessary, which you were forced to do because of severe pain in your life coming to standstill. But then you didn't take the preventive actions which were required for kind of stopping it from reoccurring. And that's where the problem lies. So both are equally important is what I would say.
Yes, exactly. So when a patient comes to you, what do you think we should treat first? The body that hurts or the fear and anxiety that the patient is carrying within themselves?
I think I'm not going to give you a straight answer for any of the questions. So again, they're linked, right? The pain needs to be treated. They need to be relieved of the suffering. The fear and anxiety will feed into it. I gave you that example where I know of someone who wouldn't bend despite their back being absolutely fine on the scans. But functionally, it is not fine because they're not using it the way it has to be. And that's just the fear and the anxiety. They're all linked. When you have more fear and anxiety, it feeds into the pain because you also go into the hypervigilance mode where your body, all your attention is focused onto that part of the body which you think might go wrong or hurt. And then every small signal is interpreted in a different way. And that hypervigilance becomes a problem. So fear and anxiety feeds into the pain. The pain will increase the fear and anxiety, and that becomes a circle. Unless you break that circle, you would keep going round and round and round. And that's where the addressing both the things becomes equally important.
And then you will not reach anywhere. You will just keep circling around.
Yeah. And that's not very uncommon. It happens with a lot of chronic pain patients.
So what is the loneliest part of being a doctor and people outside this profession that really talks or see about it?
Okay, so we are not there on a lot of family occasions and functions and important events that they already see. So, but because you brought that up, that always happens. You planned a holiday. The day before you go on leave, something or the other will turn up, which will then keep bothering you throughout, the holiday where you're forced to take calls and look after sick patients. If you were meant to be at work, that will never happen. But when you go on a holiday, it always happens the last day. Having said that, that's something which all people know about. But, I think the pain of failure, the pain of not being able to help people, the pain of having tried the best, and there could be sometimes the barriers are created by the patients themselves. You tell them, what is happening, but they have their own fears and anxieties, and they've put walls around them beyond which they cannot see.
Yes.
Those are the pains which really bother you when you want to help someone. When you've tried your best, it still hasn't worked. You sleep with those pains. Sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night with those pains. Sometimes they bother you the first thing in the morning as soon as you wake up. So that is something which not many people are aware of, that, people actually try and work hard for you. It's not the financial reward or the fact that the service ends when you leave the clinic. But that's one pain which people, maybe they realize. I don't know whether they realize it or not, but that's not talked about very often.
So it's like even the doctor tries to help by going out of their way to, give them relief. So it's not only about that. They are just concerned that till the time they are with the doctor, they will be providing their services.
Exactly.
But it's also beyond that, which they are not able to see, that how much they think about you and try to bring the best result for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Even doctors are human. So is there any kind of physical or emotional pain that you tend to ignore in yourself?
I think we are good at giving advice in general. But we always tell our patients, listen to your body. The pain will tell you what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. But when it comes down to listening to our body, we are often in a condition where, we hold on to our pee for 2 hours before we get a chance to go and, just free ourselves. We will often be dehydrated at the end of shifts. And that's something which we, I think, need to change. In terms of looking after our needs and addressing them. And let me just talk about myself. You look at my annual leaves, I've never used my full quota. I don't remember. Not that I haven't been unwell, not that I haven't had family occasions or want for going on holidays, but we still don't end up using the provisions which are being given to us because we prioritize our work more than ourselves. And sometimes that's not right, and we need to change that. I'm mindful of that, but on the other front, it becomes very difficult to ignore someone whom you've taken responsibility for and given a commitment to, and this sometimes gets misused on the other side as well. But yeah, there we are. So I think one thing which needs to change is, I can speak for myself. I need to start looking after myself more, listening to the body needs and responding to them appropriately, taking rest whenever is required, eating whenever it's necessary, those kind of simple things.
So it's important to take care of yourself when you are taking care of others as well.
Otherwise, there comes a situation when it all comes crashing down, and then, if you don't look after yourself, how are you going to look after others?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So beyond medicines and procedures, what do you think is the most underrated tool the patient has within them when in the process of their healing?
I think the power of positivity and mind is something which is often underrated. So the positivity and the mind is very important. And this is not something what I believe in. It's proven by science. Stress makes pain worse. Fear makes pain worse. There is a gate control theory, like the pain signals are traveling through the spinal cord, and there is a gate over there. When we are afraid or when there is a lot of anxiety, that gate is open, which means a lot of pain signals travel through that gate and reach our brain and cause pain. So we experience more pain. It's all scientific. So the positive mindset, it's not just our religious texts which are telling us that the mind has to be positive. It does actually impact on the pain you're feeling, and to a lot of extent, maybe to your healing as well. So that's why the importance of meditation and all those other similar things to, aid your healing process.
So staying positive does not mean that you just have to keep affirming yourselves, but it's all about the acceptance that what you are going through, and with time it will pass by. And
it's not about just saying it, but believing in it
as well,
from the core. That is what is important.
Yes.
And also kind of analyzing things in a rational way, where you can distinguish false alarms from the real factual information to help in your recovery.
Absolutely. Finally, what is that one line or one truth that every patient deserves to hear on their journey, at least once in their life?
What you feel is real. What you believe in is real. If you feel you have pain, it is there. So trust in that. And remember that your life is not just going to be decided about what's happening today. This shall pass.
So beautiful, sir. Really beautiful.
Thank you.
Pain is the same for everyone?
Bilkul nahi. Same pain, different people, or even same people, different times, everything changes. They're not the same.
If pain has lasted for years, nothing can help.
Absolutely false. अगर ऐसे होता तो pain अलग speciality नहीं होती. Things can be done. If diabetes has lasted for a long time, nothing can be done. It can be helped, right? So the extent might vary, but yes, help is there.
Mental health has nothing to do with the body pains.
बिल्कुल wrong. अभी हमने इस पे डिटेल में बात करी है. Mental health has a lot to do with how you feel your pain, what it makes you do, emotional state, your fears, anxiety, all have a role.
Rest is always the best treatment for curing pain.
False. There is a lot of research which says in certain conditions, bed rest can be harmful. And it's such a big problem when you get patients asking you to write down bed rest for them, because actually the research says something else.
Pain is just a sign of damage in your body.
Absolutely false. There are a lot of pain conditions whereas there is no ongoing damage, but the pain is still there. I'll give you an example. Amputation. किसी की बाजू कट गई है, उसके बाद भी उन्हें अंगूठा महसूस होता है, वहां दर्द हो रहा है. Where is the damage? There is no अंगूठा. So So
Right.
not always.
Ignoring pain makes you stronger.
हो सकता है, नहीं भी हो सकता, varies from person to person. We've talked about this. Sometimes you ignore it and create a bigger problem. Sometimes it's a mild problem and you're better off just letting pass by. That's your sound judgment and your common sense over there.
Okay. Chronic pain means the problem is serious.
Again, most of the times no, but sometimes it can be. You have to learn to recognize the warning signs, which your doctor will tell you with any condition. But in majority of the conditions, it is not.
Healing pain always takes a long time.
No, again, it can vary depending upon a lot of factors. How long it's been there for, what's the cause,
Right.
whether it's been addressed rightly or not. What is your approach towards it? But yes, it can be cured or relieved very quickly also. In some situations, it may take a long time.
Children and elderly feel pain differently.
I think yes, because children are in their growing phase, so their nervous system responds differently. And not only that, sometimes, that small needle prick which came unannounced and made them suddenly get scared and feel insecure, translates into needle phobia. Those kind of things, the fear of my parents left me at that time generates a lot of insecurity. So it changes their perception for a long duration sometimes. Similarly with elderly, one fall and you feel like not confident of going out of the house again on your own. It can have impacts beyond just the normal anatomical changes which happen as we are young or old. There could be a lot of other impacts like psychological impacts and other things which can modulate your pain experience. I would say these are vulnerable age groups sometimes, right, and hence need to be handled with more sensitivity and care.
Pain can exist even when the injury has healed.
Absolutely. That's what chronic pain is about. That is the pain which is lasting beyond the healing time or the healing period. Yeah.
So in the end, the most important question that everyone faces, why is pain treatment such a big challenge?
I think that's a very important question. I think I get so many patients every day. Some people, the family is thinking he doesn't want to work. The office guys are thinking he or she doesn't want to come to work and just want to take the salary. There is a lot of element of doubt. And why does that happen? A lot of people are blamed to have psychological pain or it's in their mind. Why does that happen? I think the biggest challenge is the pain is invisible. In the medical school, we are taught pain is what the patient says it is.
Right.
Because there is no way we can quantify it, or there are vague scales, but whether you are in pain or not, there is no meter for it. I think that's the right word. There is no meter for it, which will say yes or no. And hence all the challenges, there is no test which will tell us where the pain is coming from. It might say you got knee arthritis, but not all knee arthritis cause pain. It might say you've got a disc bulge, but there are 5 disc bulges. Which one is causing pain, or is there another source? So direct correlation is the difficult bit, and hence the challenge. You can't prove or disprove it's there. You can't identify the source very easily. Right. And then every person's pain perception is very different. The way they react is different. The way they react to the same pain is different in different situations. What works for them can be different as well. So hence the challenge, there is no one recipe which fits in for everyone. And that's why you don't find the answers on, Google or any such search engines where you can just follow a certain format and you get an answer. So that's the challenge.
Oh, that's so beautifully explained, because that is what patients fear, that whether when they go to a doctor, will it be like doctor is going to believe them or not, or it is just in their mind. So you have beautifully explained that thing. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now I'm going to enact few situations and you have to identify exact diagnosis of that problem.
So pain conditions, right?
Pain conditions, yes.
Sounds like a challenge. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So Ouch.
Wow, that could be, I think you were chewing something and you got a sudden pain.
Yes.
It could be a temporomandibular joint, which we call as TMJ problem, or it could even be a simple toothache kind of a thing. Or it could also be something like trigeminal neuralgia. Depends upon how you describe your pain and the examination findings. Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect.
Okay.
Okay, next one. Ouch. I can't lift it more than this now.
So, so the problem is the arm movement is compromised and abduction, which is bringing the shoulder up like this. So most common problems, either rotator cuff tear or problem, or it could even be a bursa problem or a frozen shoulder like problem. And hence, not every pain in the shoulder is a frozen shoulder. You have to do a diagnosis and investigate and then treat it accordingly.
Well, that was so close.
Yeah.
Now, be ready for the next one.
Sounds like you've got a headache and it's on one side.
Yes.
Most common, or one of the commonest causes, is migraine. Your eyes were closed, so I'll think migraine. Headache, definitely, possibly migraine.
Perfect.
Okay. That's one of the commonest things we see, neck pain. Most often in nowadays, especially because of excessive use of mobile phone and high screen time, a common occupational hazard, which we all have now. So I could say neck pain, secondary to the muscular strain. We can also call it myofascial pain or muscular neck pain, or in layman's language, cervical.
Perfect.
So you're lifting something heavy and the pain's on the outer side of the elbow.
Yes.
One of the commonest reasons is tennis elbow. I'll send the patient to you. You can treat it.
Thank you. Any one message that you would love to share with your patients regarding the pain?
Okay, so एक चीज तो ये हो सकती है कि आजकल बहुत सारा गंद फैला हुआ है मार्केट में. Because you need to know whom you're listening to. Their credibility needs to be known. Yeah? Number one. Number two, secondly, yeah, even if they can't find the cause and there is pain, don't, just unnecessarily worry कि मैं imagine तो नहीं कर रहा. अगर तुम्हें है तो है. That could be one thing. है ना? Thirdly, sometimes it gets really tough, but don't worry. There is always help.
तो पहले ऑथेंटिसिटी के बारे में बात करते हैं सर. देन रीच आउट फॉर हेल्प. अगर है पेन तो यू मस्ट विजिट डॉक्टर.
Believe in what you believe, and then there is always help. Okay, so when you've asked me that question, there are a lot of thoughts which are crossing my mind. The first thing is for the patients. If you believe you have pain, don't let anyone sow in that seed of doubt that it might be psychological. You would know better than that person, or me for that matter, whether you acknowledge it or not is a different issue, but you would know whether it's there or not. Just don't doubt yourself because somebody else is saying it's psychological. That's number one message. Number two, sometimes it really gets tough. The going gets really tough. Don't lose hope. There is always help. It might come to you immediately. It might come to you after some time. Sometimes you have to search for it. Sometimes you have to try for it. But there is help. It might not make your problem disappear, but at least it can make it manageable. And even that is a good start. I'm not saying that's the end. I'm saying it's a good start. Thirdly, there is a lot of information out there in the public domain now with the gain in popularity of the social media. Always check who's giving you that information. Yes. What is his qualification, experience, background? Just because I speak well, or just because I get articles published in paper, does not mean that I'm the right person to give you that information. So take the information with a pinch of salt and look at the credibility of the person who's speaking first before you start believing the information he's given you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your expertise and your journey with us and helping us remind that offering compassionate care to the patients can bring comfort and confidence. Thank you for your valuable insights. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Today's conversation reminds us that pain deserves compassion, not silence. Pain does not define you, and help is closer than you think. Every step towards comfort is a step towards inner alignment. This is Shades of Healing, where we honor journeys, celebrate resilience, and returns always to hope. Be gentle and compassionate with yourself. Until we meet again, breathe, feel, love deeply, stay happy, and keep choosing you.